base. What's up? And getting radio airplay for every new single that was created. But Sean decided that he needed to find a higher path of consciousness and started exploring different religions.
I tried a lot of different, religions, and
the way I look at all that is, it's really good to explore, your beliefs, to make sure that you're really, when you believe in something, it's because you really do believe in it.
I never put people down for their religious beliefs, but that was the stupidest thing Sean has ever done in his life.
His first choice was Scientology.
I did the Scientology for a bit.
Is that their religion with like the Laserdisc Bible?
He started getting weird when he went out and bought a copy of Dianetics for all of us to read at first. I laughed, and I've never even looked at the damn thing.
I don't know nothing about these hubbub. I don't read a lot.
Scientology.
If he says it's alright, then I'll write my check. Whatever.
Battlefield Earth? What the fuck was that about?
Eventually, just in my spiritual quest, I just decided, I don't really need anything. And
Sean moved on to the quiet life of the Amish. To him, it was a seemingly perfect fit.
it was just me and God, being Amish.
I churn butter every day, better than electricity.
But the rest of the band had difficulties dealing with Sean's renouncing electricity and everything to do with rock and roll.
Well, it obviously caused some conflict because I wouldn't, I wouldn't go near a microphone.
Well, okay, Sean's gonna be, a Christian Science weirdo, but then, right after we got used to that, he started, walking to work, and
he went off and did his Amish thing.
he wouldn't even ride a bike because of the mechanics involved, and we realized that, well, he was Amish, and that was really hard. We had to do shows, and
An electric rock band, Amish, I don't know where he was going with that.
That made sense. Living off the earth and being a farmer. I don't know what the hell he grows.
He didn't even have a beard. I'm wondering how he could have been Amish. Had a damn goatee.
He did make some pretty good homemade butter.
I no longer go by that name. My name is Jacob Ezekiah.
Sean was a fantastic at the Amish. I don't know nothing about the Amish, but there was a piece in the Geographic about it, and I saw the churning and the bonds, and
they taught me about it.
I liked it when he was in his Amish face because I could kick him in the nuts and slap him around. He wouldn't fight back.
Well, we tried to let him come in and tried balancing out, like I said, trying to keep an open mind, but like I said, when you're trying to get solo crowds and your guitar's not being heard and vocals aren't being heard, it does cause a problem. Like any moron would know that. Mark will know that.
I gladly offered to play acoustic.
He wouldn't fucking plug in.
I've never been a big fan of electricity personally. Never brought me no good.
and he would have his acoustic guitar, and he would have to yell.
Mark got electrocuted, and alright, sorry, electricity's alright with me.
We were like, well, can we please mic you? And he was like, no, there's too much technology in that.
And we're like, dude, you gotta fucking plug in. He's like, no, it's against my religious beliefs. Bring, 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 bring.
I can accomplish the same kind of effect, Just put a megaphone up and scrape. No, we need your amp. No.
And we had to make him like a megaphone, one of those old ones, those big cone ones.
Halfway through the show, we all just said fuck it because we're all rocking out and just kicking much ass. And Sean's got his fucking guitar unplugged.
If people are in the audience yelling and screaming, they can't hear over that.
You can't sing really. You just get tired of churning butter.
It was just weird. I don't know. It was bizarre.
And I realized, really, I'm just too lazy to be Amish.
As if that wasn't enough of a challenge, John and Mark decided to try their hand at professional wrestling.
sit at home and watch it. Like, we can do that. And so we did. We joined up, and next you know, we're walking through the rinks and we're wrestling.
I was a tremendous fan of their wrestling stint.
The violence of that, well, you can argue whether or not it's real, but that completely went at odds with my religion.
Sean did say, hey, your whole tag team thing offends my religion, and it's wrong, and it's evil, and they're going to hell.
I wasn't angry about it at all. It was a big waste of time.
Well, I knew he'd get into one of them men touching sport things, one or the other.
They seemed to enjoy it, and I was like, all right, whatever, float your boat, go and do it. But they really, really got into it.
Mark and I were really into it.
Which I didn't really appreciate.
Yeah. He always liked to wear the clinging clothing, and I figured maybe ballet for him.
The two were a tag team wrestling spectacle, the likes of which have never been seen before or since.
We got into the ring, and John realized that they actually whip you into the ropes.
Mark was the big brave bulls. John were the little mincy faggot bulls.
I mean, even at our first match, they whipped him in the ropes, and John was like, ah!
And I was a dick.
And I was like, they're gonna bounce you off the ropes, and you're just like, I thought it was fake! He had this Fred Durst thing in his voice when he started talking, when he got into the ring. It was really kind of weird.
John's a flamer.
Every time we fought was pretty embarrassing.
And they were showing up by that point at shows in their wrestling gear and just looking like complete faggots.
I just couldn't deal with it because it was drawing away from the band. They were wrestlers now and no longer musicians, and I had a hard time dealing with it.
He would put on the tutu or the tie or whatever, and he'd go scrapping with that other boy, and they would get down in it. I don't know. And then he tells me he's taking it big time. I don't know what that means. We ain't got no electricity, so I don't have the television.
It's not acceptable, and it never was acceptable, really, to be a tag team wrestling group.
Their career in wrestling was waning, but by then it was too late for John and Mark to turn back to the band. Putty had already started to disintegrate.
Sean was out plowing the backyard, making his crops, and John and Mark were, constantly yelling and screaming and wrestling on each other.
By the time the band's sixth album, Loaded Goat, a tired retread of previous Putty albums, was released, John had developed a drug problem.
So he started doing these fish tranquilizers, and they just... The weird thing about it was that when he was on stage, he'd be talking, and he was just so fucked up that the words didn't look like they were actually coming out of his mouth.
Sure, I got you. Yes, I did. I saw the breakfast menu, and it's a differentiation with the special today. And very pretty girl, and we've known each other for so long now, and mother, loves you too, but got the bird on the wire. Not such a good picture.
He was on Flintstone vitamins most of the time.
Well, what's the stuttering problem?
Yeah, it was, but he would take a bottle of them at a time. And I don't care who you are, if you eat a bottle of vitamins...
Well, that was because he was eating all the pebbles, though.
I don't care what it is. That much stuff,
What's in him, though? Because he was snorting them, remember?
Yeah, he was crushing them.
Not all the time. He was snorting them whole sometimes. Well, he wasn't doing it when he was cutting them up. He wasn't cleaning the table either. Remember, there'd be dirt and sand and shit.
Yeah, no matter what.
And then a big Fred Flintstone head in the middle of it all.
The arguments, substance abuse, and side projects had become too much to handle. Ben decided he'd had enough.
I decided that